All right then. Do all Premier League fans think the same? Uh, Original credit to the video will be in the description and all that crap. Like, subscribe to Zach Digilab. Let's see.
Got all these football fans here to see whether they agree or disagree with some of these statements. Winning the FA Cup and finishing 6th and not getting Champions League football is better than finishing 4th but winning no trophies.
Come on now. Yeah. Come on.
Winning the FA Cup and finishing 6th is better than finishing 4th but with no trophies. Disagree. Yeah, disagree. But it depends on where your club is. Like, I don't want to be a big sexist here, but if you're a team that's going for the league, finishing 6th and winning the FA Cup, that's a horrible season. But I guess you need to take context out of it. And you're just like, base minimum 6th, 4th, but you get an FA Cup with 6th. I would still lean the 4th because the Champions League it's more of a sign of stability, and it gives you a better platform to bring in new players. It gives you more money. It just gives you more stability. If you're a club with either a lack of trophies, Spurs. If you're a club with a lack of trophies, or you're just a lower league club, let's be honest here. Like if you're a Brighton or Newcastle or West Ham or like even a Coventry, you're gonna enjoy winning a cup way more than just getting 4th, because let's be real here, you're not expecting to constantly get 4th. Maybe if you're Aston Villa, you can think about it, but I think it depends on the type of club. But I would say in general 4th, because even if you are a smaller club and you want to win trophies, playing Champions League is a very big thing. Like I know even getting Europe is a crazy thing, but getting Champions League is also crazy. I just think 4th gives more of a sign of stability. They're both good, but it's like, yeah, you celebrate the one day the FA Cup, and then next season you're playing Thursday night, and you're like, fucking hell, this is just horrible, isn't it?
You can.
What's wrong with you people?
Alice?
My God, that's mental.
So a part of it probably maybe depends on like
Liverpool, Man United,
how long your club has gone
Liverpool.
without a trophy and all of that. But the way I look at it is football was very much about finances these days. And the money you get from being in the Champions League is like 100 million in itself. If you go far in the Champions League, you get even more money. If you win the Champions League, you get into the Club World Cup, which I don't really like, but there's a crazy amount of money in it. And I think it's better.
That's a good factor, but I don't think that's the main point you should be LARPing on, especially to some of these annoying people we're going to see from the blue cartel and red cartel type of people, where they're like, oh, the big 6, it's all designed against us.
For the long-term sustainability of a club to be in the Champions League just through.
I mean, you'll see naturally, look, Man United fan, Liverpool fan, Chelsea fan, Arsenal fan. Holy shit, how many Arsenal fans do they have? All Premier League fans. Bro, half the fucking team is Arsenal here. Who's that in the back? It's not Burnley. It's Arsenal. Oh my god, why is there so many Arsenal fans? They've all come crawling out after they won the league. Or they've swapped. We don't even have the entire Premier League here, but I mean, you look at all this, big 6, bigger teams, Leicester, Coventry, Palace, I don't even know, is that Brighton? Middlesbrough, West Ham, Skell, your man hiding in the back, think that's Spurs.
Sort of the money that you get,
Yeah.
and it
But you'll naturally see the smaller clubs edge to the trophy because they don't win trophies. Big clubs win trophies. So unless a big club hasn't won a trophy in a while, stability and money does play a factor. But stability and also how attractive of a destination your club is, like, let us play a part.
also helps you pull better players in the summer window.
See, look,
No,
she's losing the Chelsea
guess if
fan.
you're-
She's losing the Chelsea fan because she's arguing about fucking money. We're not finances. We're not finance. We're not accountants. We're football fans. And I think that's a horrible point to start on.
More of a bottom
It's a
mid-table.
point. I agree with it, but like, we watch football because we love our team and we want to win, not because we want to make
Club,
our
you've won your
owners
trophy,
money.
you don't have the depth to be in the Champions League, then I would probably argue FA Cup and Sixth is better. But I think if you support like a
lot of it is
B6 club, I
context, to be
think
fair.
Champions League's really important. Like for Manchester United this season,
Is he
obviously
an England shirt?
I know we've won
Mate,
2
wrong video, mate.
trophies under Ten Hag quite recently, but I think getting back in the Champions League will be bigger for us because of our finances.
Quickly, Palace fans, I'd say, well, Palace fan, Henry, you won the
not
FA
this
Cup
And finished
last
12th.
year and finished 12th.
12th again.
Yeah.
Who gives
12
up?
again.
Finish the chart. But
Clothes.
It's
Who
fine.
needs them? They can be scratchy and uncomfy. That's. Do you want to be?
No, no,
The only
Barker,
rebuttal I've got
it's
to
a
that is,
t-shirt.
as a fan, and I kind of get what you're saying in your circumstance uniquely, but as a fan, why it's become such a thing where fans are so focused on the finances of their clubs. I couldn't care less what's going
Yeah, it's a horrible point to start on.
on in terms of financials at the boardroom at Palace. We won the FA Cup. We finished 12th. Like,
who
unless
gives
we
a
win the
fuck?
Conference League this year, touch wood, it's not going to get better than that. And that moment, that day, the entire occasion will live with me, Ollie, every Palace fan for generations. It was incredible. I do not care about, even if we finish Europa League and got however many millions of pounds of qualifying, I would never take that
That's
any
why they have
day.
a fucking Leicester fan. They didn't even clock that. Why is a Leicester fan here, bro? You're in League One.
Over winning the FA Cup, never.
He's
I don't want to
also
say
an
this
on,
disrespectfully, but obviously an FA
I
Cup
swear to God, that's a fucking English
does a
shirt.
lot
What are
more
you doing,
for your
bro?
guys' clubs than it does for my club. And the reason why I'm here is not because of the finances, is because for me, the best days of my life are when we won the Champions League in Madrid,
when
when
we,
we won the Premier League. So being
lots of
in the
money.
Champions League and having the
Oh, he's a
prospect of
Barca fan here. Yeah, he's just pulled up a bunch of
the
random
chance
people
of
from
being
his gaff.
able to,
His gaff, the street.
recreate that night means more to me than, winning an FA Cup, which to me is just a bit of a sweetener. It's not disrespect. When we won the FA Cup in 2022, it was great. Personally, the prospect of winning the bigger trophy is more important for me.
But the question is winning. It's not winning the Champions League. It's getting top 4 or winning the FA Cup.
Yeah,
They
but I'm
run out
saying,
of
but
shirts.
winning. I'll give it to you after. Getting into the top 4 gives you a chance.
No,
of
yeah, I
winning.
get that, but it's not a guarantee.
So I'm
That's
saying
not
the
the
chance
question.
of winning the Champions League.
You think a chance of winning the Champions League is better than winning the FA Cup?
Yeah.
See, that's false because yesterday was the COV parade for us going up.
He's not
Probably
even
one of the
wearing
best days of my
Crystal
life.
Palace
Slept for
shirt.
45 minutes. When am I ever going to do that again? Like, to
Hopefully
do
never,
fo-
mate. Hopefully
to
never.
do something like that. And being a football fan is about making memories. And like you said, I couldn't care less about the finance side of football. It's not going in my pocket. I don't care. It's about making memories as a football fan. That £100 million for getting into the Champions League or whatever is, if I get hit by a bus next week, that £100 not going to do anything for me. But on my deathbed, I'll probably remember the time I was at the Cov City parade. I'll remember the time Bobby
the
Thomas heads
financials
one in and we
does
get
play a
promoted
part
and
in
everyone
your
goes crazy.
recruitment as
I'll
well.
remember the time we won an FA Cup.
Hopefully.
1987
Unless you
Coventry
shit
won the
on
FA Cup,
ours.
only thing we've
Man
ever won.
United.
In the city, it's still spoken about to this day. Everyone remembers where they were on Cup final day, 87. No one's going to remember where we were when we finished 4th place. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so much, it needs so much more to win something as a football fan, because that is the only reason you should watch football as a football fan.
night-
It's not about the finances.
that
It's not
night in
about we
Birmingham
have a
when we
chance to
got
win this.
4th.
It's about actually getting over the line and winning something. It just means that's
Spurs
what
celebrate
everything of being
that.
a football fan should
I was
be.
gonna say one thing, but I'm not on strongly agree because I can understand where you're coming from. And obviously, as an Arsenal fan, obviously like finishing second and not winning anything, I've been getting all the talk over the past few years. But one thing I was gonna say is that there are less
Man, they could've
big
said
teams in England than small teams. So, for example, maybe like the 80+ teams, for example, that might not have the
Push it back
opportunity
30,
of
yeah.
winning a trophy such as the FA Cup. We saw with Crystal Palace last season, Leicester not too long ago. Before that, he was kind of in the situation we're talking about in terms of top 4 Europe or winning an FA Cup. What that does for you in terms of the memories and all of that stuff, obviously for me, FA Cup, I've won it a lot. So I don't feel that. But it's such an important moment. And then even, for example, when you look at Wigan that won the FA Cup, that went down that same season. Those are memories that will live with you forever. So
I just feel like, I 100% I agree with you, and it is relative according to what club you support. And silver is the currency of success in football. The best day of my life was winning the league. The second best was winning the Champions League. But as a Liverpool fan, and this is specific to my club argument, every European night we have is magic. Like I remember games, even ties where we've been knocked out. That tie at Stamford Bridge, I think it's 4-4. Fabio Aurelio scores a free kick. Like I remember that like as a magical memory. So these nights stay with you. Look, I would have loved to have won the FA Cup this season. I'm gutted that we're going to end the season without silverware. But I think for Liverpool, with that special relationship with European football, like some of the nights we've had, even on the way to not winning competitions, will stay with me for just.
I want to quickly just give the mic to T really quickly, because we are actually in a situation right now where this could be possible, right? We could finish and miss Champions League football. Yeah. We could beat Man City with Callum McFarlane as manager and win the FA Cup. You were in disagree and you moved over to agree. Why so?
I'm a Chelsea fan. I've watched Chelsea grow up my whole life winning trophies. Every single year winning trophies. You can ask people who know me. When obviously we had the Club World Cup, we won that. I know people don't rate it. That's whatever. And there's an argument to be made that
no one rates
the endurance of having to play through that has caused some of our issues this season. But if you ask me if I would have swapped that, even if it's the Club World Cup, I wouldn't. I love trophies too much. It's what I'm used to as a Chelsea fan. This season, if I was to ever say that I would have rather finished fourth than win the FA Cup and finish sixth, which is a possibility, it's more of the manner of how the season has gone in terms of certain expectations that then got worse and worse and worse.
I feel like Liverpool's fourth this year, it probably feels a little worse than some other big teams finishing fourth. This guy's a fucking unit, by the way. Holy shit. But like, Liverpool were expected to challenge for the league, win the league. They are the title holders. And they finished fourth. So it feels horrible. But if you were like, Man United, for a good example for us, we finished third. But let's say, if we finish fourth, it's like, for us, it's like, obviously, some United fans, their standards are on the floor. I'm not one of them. But for us, it's like us finishing third without a trophy. We understand that we need more, but we're like, yeah, get in. Good season. Now we can build on it. Liverpool, it's like we've taken a step back. So I see, it is, the thing is, it's all about context, this question. But I think in general, finishing fourth is more often than not going to be more beneficial than finishing sixth with an FA Cup.
In the grand scheme of things, I just love trophies too much. I love how they make me feel, and it's top four to me. Top four to me is good. It's not a trophy.
I want to quickly let's pass the mic to Joe, Middlesbrough fan here. Kind of, I guess, unbiased in either way. You're not in the Premier League.
Can't fathom either.
You obviously strongly agree.
Yeah, it's not even a debate for me. I can't, as I say, imagine even finishing top four or winning the FA Cup. But in terms of like winning, we won the Carling Cup in 2004. That's still spoke about. It's literally the only trophy we've ever won. If we were to win another, it'd be, I'd miss my childbirth for it. That's the level we're talking. Misses it kill me, but yeah, that is the level we're talking. I do understand, like you say, Big Six fans. I think Liverpool and Man United especially. No disrespect, Arsenal, Chelsea, Spurs. Obviously Spurs, yeah, totally get it. Yeah. Arsenal have won so many FA Cups, but Liverpool and Man United, they are like obviously far and beyond the biggest teams in England.
With Spy's 3D configurator, you're in full control. Choose your colours, patterns, logos, names.
You must remember those UEFA Cup memories with like Juninho and stuff, and that great Middlesbrough team, like Fulham fans. I bet you remember that, like Juninho.
Teams in England.
But you must remember those UEFA Cup memories with like Juninho and stuff, and that great Middlesbrough team, like Fulham fans. I bet you remember that season where you got to the final incredibly fondly. Like these things do stay with you. European football is magic.
Yeah.
Obviously it's different if you haven't won something for a very long time, but I'm sure people still speak about.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But, I got to the final, got beat 4-0. Obviously, if we won it, it's a different matter. But then again, you come to the argument, would you rather win this trophy or qualify for the tournament? Winning the Europa League, yeah, I'll take that over winning the FA Cup because it's, it's a standpoint in Europe. But if it's them European nights, like we did some unbelievable comebacks, Basel beating Roma,
But them nights specifically aren't remembered as much as the night in Cardiff when we won the cup.
I don't want to be like rude and presumptuous, but I do feel like there is a larger proportion of match-going fans on this side of the room, and I do feel like those memories that you create with the people that you go with. Look, we haven't got to an FA Cup final in my lifetime. The last time we won the FA Cup was in '91. We won the Carling Cup in 2008. Got to a few finals since then. Or even like the Europa League last year, which obviously gave us a gateway back into the Champions League. We had our worst season in my life, finishing 17th, which, despite the fact we're down here again, has been a large anomaly for me in my life as a Spurs fan. But I would not swap that. Having that experience of going to the people that I've been going to Spurs my whole
perfectly with his fellow relegation teammates.
Life with, to experience going to Bilbao, seeing us
He snuck up. Man, you were taking up the entire room. You're sneaking on their side.
Trophy, the days that followed that. I wasn't thinking about the Champions League, and I know we're talking about a different tournament here, but I was thinking about those memories, and that will, even if we get relegated this season, like those memories will last a lifetime. And it's about the people that you go with. It's about that experience of having it, and also like I think the FA Cup is a bit of a weird one because obviously it's lost a lot of its mystique. Like the FA Cup back in the day, like you speak to people of our parents' generation, winning the FA Cup was considered a bigger thing than winning the league at that time. You think about the FA Cup final, the build up to it, like the whole day, 9 o'clock in the morning, it was on telly. It was one of the only times that people would actually be able to watch live football on TV in this country as well back in those days. And I do feel like it's lost a lot of its allure because of greed that's come into the game as well. No FA Cup replays, all that kind of stuff, more minimal chances for people to create these giant killing stories. But if we're talking about winning a trophy, and I've seen us win 2 in my life, I would not swap that feeling of being the people that I've been around with, going to Spurs with my whole life, for just getting back in the Champions League. We've been there, we've got to a Champions League final, not won it. I still remember that weekend in Madrid. I know obviously we weren't expected to win, but I still take those memories of getting to there, nearly winning a trophy, having that thing, than, okay, we're back in the Champions League.
But Ben, I've got to make the point, you could get relegated this season. And I understand what you're saying, because the way I looked at this question is I'm also looking at it at the stature I hold Liverpool to, because, and I understand being a match-going fan, there is a lot more memories.
Does come into it, like it's relative expectation. Of course, you've been spoiled for so long being in those. Like,
if I'm looking at Liverpool and we come 6th and we get the FA Cup and we come 4th, for me, both seasons are still failures, because how can Liverpool come 6th? Because I'm always looking at the goal is to win Premier Leagues, win Champions League. So I get that you've had an amazing memory with Spurs coming 17th and getting the Europa League, but that always has an impact. And the fact now, everyone thought, oh, Spurs, they'll just go back to where they are. Coming 17th has had a huge impact on the fact that you could go down. If I flip that, for instance, for Liverpool, I'm not taking the Europa League to potentially play the Championship.
Can we ask the Leicester fan here?
Yeah.
Because like just standing here, the whole time thinking about it, and we talk about Spurs finishing 17th, maybe going down, would you still care? You won an FA Cup and a Premier League, and you're in League One now.
What do you think, Scott?
Oh, that's there.
Emphasise that last
one. Leicester fan.
And that's not, I'm not making a dig, but I think it's like the perfect
you're spotted. You're doing my job better than me, mate.
Yeah. But again, that depends on the size of the club. A team who's never won a Premier League before, who usually hangs around mid-table, relegation, championship kind of area, they would fucking rip your hand off if you offered them that win the Premier League and then get relegated, and the FA Cup. Jesus Christ, and make the quarterfinals in the Champions League. He's going to say it was 100% worth it.
You do fit this question very, very well, because whilst obviously we won the league to get into the Champions League, the following season, whilst we tried to battle in the Champions League, we got to the quarterfinals, and we were unbeaten at home, and it was incredible. But what did we finish, like 12th or something like that? The worst champions ever. I will remember the European nights, but that's because it was our first ones. The FA Cup final, I managed to go. We won it in 21. Wembley only had like 10k people in it because it was just coming out of COVID. Lucky to go. I got to go with my family. I went with my nan, who we were the team that had got to the FA Cup final the most without winning it before that year. She'd been like all 4 times in the span of 70 years or something. So to be able to be there, like Ben was saying, with the people that you go with all the time, to see that moment that you will never, ever forget. Of course, we finished, 5th back-to-back times, and we got in the Europa League. I went to like Napoli away, I've been to Roma away, and those are amazing experiences, but the trophy is the thing.
I was going to say, if you look now, obviously, Leicester going into League One, and you think back to not the Premier League, because obviously that is the outcome. What is that next best? Is the FA Cup or the European away trip?
European trips were good, but it doesn't come close to the FA Cup for me.
Yeah,
Okay.
and he's right. It's about the stature of the club.
Lovely. Just before we move on to our next debate, guys, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I know I ask for it all the time. To be quite honest, it just makes making these videos even easier to do. It's easy to convince footballers. It's easy to get other cool people on as well. So please go down to the subscribe button. A manager matters more than the players. Agree or disagree?
No. He doesn't. Obviously, if you have a shit manager, you're going to do bad. But at the end of the day, player quality is really what pulls you through. A bad manager can make you underperform or overperform, but the base of what your team is based on your actual players. Like, if my team quality is at what Leeds knows, okay, that's how good my team is in terms of ability of players. A good manager will make them perform at his hairline level. A bad one will make him perform at his chin level. That's the base. The manager determines where you play at. A manager who's given a League One side will get fucking annihilated in the Premier League. That's an extreme example, to be fair, but a perfect manager with a mid-table championship side would probably still get relegated in the Premier League. But a bad manager with a mid-table Premier League side, he'd probably still get relegated, to be fair. But I don't, your manager, like, I'm sorry, but one man cannot control 23. He's not more important than 23 players. You're only as good as your team. Like, ultimately, quality overcomes.
Agree.
Well, prove me wrong, I suppose.
Grab half-price broadband from just €35 a month. Virgin Media, it's paytime.
Right, lads. There's something I need to tell you.
Bonkers.ie.
It's not an ad blocker, it's a feature.
In every sector.
Why is he in an English shirt?
Kick us off, mate.
At first, I was going to say agree, but then when I was thinking about it, so let's say, for example, Pep this season, he's a very good manager. We know how good he is.
Who do you support?
But even he needed to go into the transfer market and kind of boost his team to get up to par with what he wanted to do this season. Because if we all looked at the start of the season, we all thought, oh, City's lost a bit, but they've also gained a bit. But when they were playing, they weren't playing the best type of football. And they were dropping points and they were going through like a bit of lulls. Even now, they're still dropping points. Whereas in the past, when they've had the best players, obviously Pep still being a good manager, they've kind of gone on these long runs. So it kind of just shows that no matter how good you are as a manager, there's still going to be parts of football that you can't really control down to player quality. So
when it comes to managers, the main thing is buy.
Of course, the goddamn Liverpool fan is here after their disaster season. But the difference is, you still got fourth. Like, you didn't have a bad season. I know they got fifth, actually. But you still got Champions League football. Like, even a horrible manager with a horrible season, you still got fifth. I mean, you literally saw it. Slot is such a bad manager for these past 2 seasons, yeah? He won a Premier League and he got fifth. The only difference between that is because the Premier League winning one, he had Mo Salah playing at an all-time level, and he had a team around him also playing amazing. If you're saying he was so shit, he's just a shit manager in general, because he can't be good and he can't be bad at the same time. You can't say he's good, oh, he's good this season, then he just magically turns to the worst manager of all time. It doesn't work like that. It's either he was always in this range or always in that range. And I'm assuming she's going to say Slot is in a lower range, which means he was also in a lower range for the Premier League winning one. But because of players, Mo Salah was playing at such a high level, it didn't matter. It didn't matter. And again, like I'm saying, even though you had such a bad season, like, how do you say, or he had such a bad managerial season, you still finished fifth and got Champions League football. Because your players are just too good to get below there, like to get below sixth. player quality is the decider.
And I don't know about a lot of people here, but obviously I'm not comparing, but obviously when you play even like a little bit of football and you play with a guy and you see that they have invested so much time and effort into you and the way that maybe they play, you want to play for that manager. A prime example is even Chelsea this season with Rafinha, where maybe he's not a rubbish coach, but you can just tell that the players probably weren't buying into him the same way they did with Maresca. Sometimes with a manager, it's not necessarily only about the quality, it's about something that you can see that you can reside with. And I think the main thing when it comes to management, for example, Ange Postecoglou Spurs, there was a lot of players in that team that rode for him, which is why they won that Europa League. I think the main thing, if you have that emotional attachment, which is so important in football, that's what I think can take you further than just having great players.
Ange finished, he won the Europa League, but they finished low in the league, and it was based off the fact that they've got so many injuries. Even Spurs now, De Zerbi's a good manager, he's getting a bit of points for them, but we can all see Spurs are not going to be in that.
Is Ange a bad manager? I debate that. I wouldn't say he's bad
situation if they have a fully fit
Connor is itching to talk, by the way.
Squad. On top of that, Chelsea this season, they've been poor.
Unlike this guy.
Maresca left. But if you look at Chelsea's squad last season compared to this season,
Spanish guy,
much better player quality.
Do you know what? I think you both make some really good points, but I think we're in danger of making this a bit of a chicken and an egg situation. So it's very much the age-old kind of question of tactics versus individual brilliance of players. You know, a system will take you so far in football, and then individual brilliance of those players can then build upon that system and take you further. Is a manager who's got a system more important at a lower league club or a lower half club in the Premier League than, you know, higher up? Possibly, because the system is going to make you unplayable. You know, I think back to, you know, teams like Stoke in the Premier League.
But that's because your players are of that quality. If you're in the Championship, let's be real, a lot of the teams, there's large lumps where they're kind of the team quality of these multiple teams, like, they're kind of the same. They're quite, he does not agree, they're in a similar range to each other. And then, obviously, the manager matters. Again, like I said, look, Waleed, this is the base of your team because of your player's ability. The manager can either make you perform at hairline level or make you perform at chin level, lower or worse, but the base is set by the players. The manager make you overperform or underperform based on how good the manager is. Multiple in the mid-table of the Premier League, let's be real, a lot of the teams are kind of similar-ish. They're kind of all around the same nose level. But then you go and you look at Bournemouth, not anymore, obviously, but you look at Bournemouth and you go, they have Iriola, a very good coach. So they perform at this level. They perform at hairline level. Even though the quality of their side is still the same as a West Ham. So West Ham, even though they have such similar level of players, you know, they have worse players, obviously, in my opinion, but they have a similar kind of range area. They're very close. Because they had such a bad manager at the start, they perform lower and they get relegated. That's what the manager decides. That's
or Burnley under Sean Dyche, or, you know, Everton, or these players that are like David Moyes sides that are like notoriously quite hard to play, and they're built upon kind of a unit of players that aren't necessarily the most gifted players, but are there to, you know, make the game difficult and sneak a 1-0 win away from home or whatnot. So I think this question...
That's why Sean Dyche constantly survives relegation with relegation sides. It's because even though he takes on a team that's a relegation threat side in terms of ability, he's a good manager, so he always takes them slightly above that.
Could be different for every single person here, and it's very much subjective on who you support, where you are in the football pyramid.
Yeah.
Spring awakens with a sea of blue florals. If only you could last. Always keep away from children.
Here are 65.
And I think because of that, it's hard to say. Like, I'm in agree because I look at it from the elite perspective. You know, I think if we are going to like bring this argument to, you know, like let's say like a top 6 side, does that Man City team or does that Arsenal team perform as well without having Pep or Arteta at the front of it, you know, implementing that system so the players can then play to a certain way? I don't think so. So that's where I would sit on it.
But then you do have teams like Real Madrid, obviously not in England, but under Zidane, it felt a lot of the time that like, and there's lots of accounts from players that there wasn't actually much in terms of tactical training, that kind of thing. It was kind of just good play.
That's not That's not managing. It's not like understand like whether the manager comes out and says, all right, lads, are playing a 4-3-3 or a 4-4-2, or I want the winger inverting, I want the left back to hold the width, or hey, centre back, I want you to step into the midfield. That's not managing entirely. That's only half of it. Man management, setting the all-round feeling around the club, play time, developing players. This is all a manager's job. Not entirely, obviously, they have entire back room to help them, but this is mainly their job. And it's not just the tactic board. That is a manager. Zidane is an excellent man manager. He knew the quality of the squad was already at nose level. And so he just said, well, instead of taking in these complicated tactics, I can simplify the game and I can keep my players happy and I can bring them up here. And he did that. Zidane is a very good man manager. He's a very good people knower. He understood how to manage people. And by the way, don't disrespect his tactics entirely. He played to his strengths. He knew what his team was about. He had the tools to do it. Yeah, he had such great tools that he didn't need to overcomplicate it. So he just didn't need to go, all right, I want Marcelo, I want you to invert, and then Casemiro, I want you to overlap with him, and then Benzema, I want you to whenever you see Marcelo in the left half space, I want you to drop into the right half space, link up with Casemiro, and then Kroos will join in. And I want Modric on the overlap. He didn't need to overcomplicate the shit. He just said, okay, Benzema, I want you to drop deep, help Bale, help Ronaldo. And Ronaldo, I want you to be direct, always be able to float into the goal area. Marcelo, just keep bombing up that wing, doing what you want. Whenever you feel there's an attack, go forward. Sergio, I just want you to be strong. Casemiro, you got to win the ball and just recycle the passes to Kroos and Modric. They will set the tempo. Modric, just do your thing, drive forward. Obviously, like, you didn't need to be complicated because these players are so good, they can help themselves. And that's a good manager to recognize that. An egotistical manager comes in and says, all right, guys, even though we have all the quality, I'm going to make this about my system. No, you don't need that. You don't need to overcomplicate the game. Zidane is an excellent manager because of that. Sir Alex is an excellent manager because of that. Sir Alex had the tactics, but he also understood how to use them the correct way, when to not overuse them or underuse them.
As playing together.
For sure, but we're looking, that's the elite. That is the elite. You're looking at the best of the best, and you're looking at, like, you know, one of the best players of all time in Cristiano Ronaldo. Having players,
having Ronaldo in your team, first of all. Who is this guy? Having Ronaldo in your team, first of all, it's a bit, you know.
Like Karim Benzema and Gareth Bale behind, like next to him, like generational.
Who are you?
Can change a game in an instant. Can a Villarreal in La Liga do that?
Is West Ham a good example of, like, you know, when you had David Moyes? Obviously, every fan eventually at that point with David Moyes was like, we need a new manager to take us to that next level. You went and got Lopetegui, and then it went downhill. Is that a showcase that maybe in your point, that the manager is actually the best thing?
The grass isn't always greener, for sure. You know, like, you know, we spoke about it briefly a minute ago. Like, the greatest night of my life was being in Prague watching West Ham win. We were comfortably the worst side that night against Fiorentina. They should have beaten us. And on another night of the week, they probably would have done. You know, we were awful. We stunk the place out. But a last-minute winner from Jarrod Bowen gave us that game. We were hard to play.
Jarrod Bowen, by the way, one of the most underrated players ever. He has consistently been arguably the best player outside the Big Six for so long. The fact he's staying in the championship with West Ham is truly a spectacle to me. Good for him. Well, not good for him, but fair enough. He's loyal. The fact he's not got a big move, he is such an underrated player. The fact Madueke was took to the World Cup over Jarrod Bowen. Jarrod Bowen will forever be a very disrespected player. I'll always stand up for Jarrod Bowen. He's a very, very, very good player, and there's a reason West Ham fans lap on about him so much, because he is that good.
You know, but David Moyes got us over that line, and it was individual brilliance of players that changed the game.
Yeah, I'm kind of between these. If I could go, because I think, and I've said it.
I'd be on the line.
I've said it a lot. I've said it a lot for Palace with the FA Cup. I don't think we win the FA Cup and do as well as we did last year, or potentially win the Conference League this year without Glasner. I think that we've got some good players, but I think he came in and he completely elevated the levels of the likes of Hughes, Kamada, these players that are kind of, and you know, your West Hams, your Forest, your Evertons will all have.
Yes, but you're talking about the good outcome. The manager does matter, obviously. But like I'm saying, the base is set by the players. The base is set by the players, but the range is set by the manager. How good or bad the manager is decides how high you can reach or how low you can reach. But ultimately, the players are the driving force. They matter more. You can't give rocks to a scientist and expect them to make a goddamn portal gun. It's not going to happen. But if you give all the perfect parts, like Lego bricks, ready to be connected to a guy who's a bit daft, he'll probably get there eventually.
These similar case studies where you've got good players, but a good manager makes them great players.
Can I jump in here?
Yeah, Beatrice, jump in.
I think you can have the best player or the best players in the world, but if the environment's not right, the team's not going to perform. And I think that environment is dictated by the manager. The manager brings in the players and the manager dictates the training ground, all of that stuff. If the environment's not right, the team will not perform. I'm first and foremost a player. I'm a fan second. And I've played in environments where we've got a good team, but the manager leaves or the manager gets sacked and it can fall apart so quickly. You can have a great team and it can all be there, but as soon as you lose the leader...
I'm assuming she's playing lower level. Like Sunday League maybe. Well, the difference of quality in teams there are so low that the manager does matter much more. But if you take a team which has ability of a top 4 team, they're going to do well, no matter the manager. And
the manager, it can fall apart so quickly. And I strongly believe that a good manager can elevate a team so much more than one good player or a handful of good players. I think it's such like a valuable asset.
Chelsea's actually an example of that, to be fair, this season. Right? Chelsea Maresca looked not too bad. And then lost Maresca and things have gone downhill.
Managing is not just about systems, it's also about managing players. So you look at Ancelotti, he was able to manage Vinicius Jr.
Yeah, the personalities.
And you say, oh, but they're doing so bad. Real Madrid have finished second. Second. Like, that's their floor. Like, they're having a bad season compared to where they should be. But they're still finishing second. It's not like they're 10th. Like, the ability of the players is the driving force. You cannot... It's impossible to get that Real Madrid side relegated, no matter how horrendous the manager is. It's just too good of a side. The quality of player always...
Alonso came, he was not able to do that. He was more of a system kind of player.
I even think Ancelotti kind of comes down to our point though, because the next season, when they signed Mbappe, the season before that was Vinny, Rodrigo, Bellingham.
Yeah.
The season after that was Mbappe. And obviously, Mbappe is a quality player, but you can see in terms of the balance of the side, the team probably not playing the same way, but it's the same manager. So I think that still comes down to the players on the pitch. Because at the end of the day, regardless of whether the manager is very good or not, the players play the football matches. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. There are things managers see that other managers don't. For example, Mourinho, he wasn't able to see the way KDB obviously his now, or for example Salah. But there's obviously Pep Guardiola was able to see that. Managing egos and managing players, that's also important. It's not just the system as well. So why was Zidane successful? It wasn't just his tactics, it was man management as well. Yeah. So for example, why do managers get sacked so much as well at the same time? Because this manager doesn't work out. You need another manager. You need someone that can lead the team, lead the squad. You can build a squad as well. It's building confidence in a player as well. Somebody who's low on confidence, you need a manager to be there. Sometimes the captain is not always there that could help the player as well. Sometimes the manager shows them a way that a player or a teammate or friend can't.
On the flip side of that though, don't you think it's a bit of a cop-out for players? Because I think it is. I think players are just kind of like brat their way out of a manager sometimes. And I think if the players have the ability, like Chelsea did under Enzo Maresca, I thought those Chelsea players were good. Liam Rosenior came in. It was obvious that the players didn't want Rosenior there. It was obvious the players didn't rate him from day dot. And it's obvious the players wanted sacked. And the players kind of just stopped performing because high-level players, they've been known to do that. And I think it's a bit of a cop-out for players sometimes. And I don't think there can be a world where the manager is more important than the players that put the performances on the pitch and stuff like that. As soon as the players give up on the manager, in my opinion, the players still have the ability. So I think it's a little bit of a cop-out for players sometimes.
I think that's why it adds to the manager's argument as well, because, you know, essentially the player's role is just to go out there and play football. But the managers, they've got to manage the team, but they've also got so many other aspects of it as well. Managing the dressing room, you know, dealing with the media, you know, that's one thing I'll give Arteta credit for. You know, I'm the last person to give Arteta credit, but obviously he had that thing with Aubameyang, you know what I mean? You know, he dealt with that well, and, you know, he phased him out of the club. But, you know, you can easily see that go left, and then you get booted out of the club. And, you know, another aspect as well is your manager is your face of the club. You know, you look at Mourinho, for example. I think of Mourinho's Chelsea. You know, when they're playing teams, you just look at that manager. It's a strong team. You know you're not going to walk over that team. And I think if you've got a strong manager who has the respect of his players, that has far more of an impact in revolutionising the team than one player. I think it's only a few instances at the top level of football where you see one player, you know, carry a team. You know, Ronaldo with the Champions League.
Messi wasn't too bad.
Messi, Salah last year, you know, I think it's more the manager who has an impact.
Beatrice, you can end it for us. Your final comments, please.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's really easy to say like a good player should be able to play well in any team with any manager. But if you look back to at school, I'm sure everyone had an experience where you had a bad teacher and you stopped trying in the class. It's very similar to that.
This is a job though, you're getting paid for it.
But
you can't
I'm sure people have similar experiences at a job as well, where if you don't have a manager that you want to fight for, it's so hard to make yourself fight for it. And on the pitch, you're, as a defender, whatever, you're putting your body on the line. And if you don't have a manager or a club that you're willing to fight for, it's really easy just to say that the players should be able to perform anyway.
With that point, to be fair, but I do think it's a bit of a liberty for players sometimes.
I feel like your point, though, is slightly a different point in terms of yours is more that players are too up themselves.
No, my point is, I think it's unfair to say that the manager's just more important than the players, because the players are the ones on the pitch at the end of the day, and the managers get blamed for the players giving up on them, if that makes sense.
But again, that's what I mean in terms of, I think you're saying more that players have too much power.
I suppose so. I think maybe I just thought players were more important just because saying that they're not important gives them an easy way out kind of thing.
That is true. You guys at home, please let us know in the comments below. Let us know what you guys think on both of these debates.
Good video. I thought there'd be more questions. There was only 2, unfortunately. He'll probably release the second part, and I get it soon. But good video. Link in the description.
Bates, do you?
Cool.